Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, we're punting to a mailbag today. You and I, we showed up at the marketplace of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
We showed up
24 hours ago.
We showed up at the content convention, and what did we have? We had nothing to offer. We had nothing to come to market with. And so, you know what we said? We're going to democratize this. Please help. Please help us come up with some content. And the listeners stepped up.
They delivered. Big time.
So what we're doing today on this podcast is we're just making it a full mailbag. And hopefully everything that we talk about is going to be as evergreen as possible because we're sitting down to record this on Wednesday night, June 4th. And it will be publishing in your feeds. You're listening to it right now, bright and early on Monday morning, June 9th. Is that right? June 9th?
4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Yep. Mm-hmm. A different world, some would say. We don't know what these listeners are going to be waking up to.
Exactly. So in the cold open, I'd like to talk about two things that Rob Manfred talked about now almost a week ago for the listeners of the podcast.
Good. It's not going to be that much older on Monday.
The first is that MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said this evening that he's, quote, hopeful in the next few weeks prior to the All-Star game, he'll know what MLB is doing with the TV rights ESPN used to hold for 2026 through 2028. Quote, we have 3 different sets of conversations. He declined to say with whom. This was tweeted by one Evan Drellick of The Athletic. Rob Manfred is talking tonight, I guess. I don't know.
Not to us.
Never to us. Although maybe. Never close
Stay tuned later in this episode.
Who do you think those 3 people are? Who do you think the 3 conversations are with?
It's Apple.
Correct.
And it's NBC.
Correct. But who's the third?
Who is the third?
I don't know.
Roku?
I mean, well, no, Roku already has Sunday morning. So it's like bookend your Sunday with Roku.
I'm always saying that, to be quite honest. You know this about me.
Rob Manfred is just trying to get a penthouse in Roku City, bro. He's trying to retire to Roku City. You still use Roku?
Yeah. What it's a Roku TV. I don't have a choice.
Well, I'm just asking if you got a new TV, bro.
No. That's a plan. I don't have new TV money.
You watch baseball games on the TV. That's a
you think
business
I can
expense.
expense it? Okay. To answer the question, I don't know who the third party is.
Can you name another company?
I know.
Just name a company.
I was gonna say like Comcast, who owns NBC.
Maybe he's gonna sell them to X, the Everything app. Sunday Night Baseball.
God, living the dream.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, I'm already
Elon doing a Spaces about
the reconciliation bill,
white replacement,
or that.
Reconciliation bill.
Two paths in the wood diverged.
So they already have a deal in place with Turner. I believe that they get Tuesday night baseball.
Mm-hmm.
They get some national games on Tuesday nights. But I don't think that there's no exclusivity to that. So I do think that locals still broadcast during those games. It's just like Turner simulcasts it on TNT. They might be a contender in my mind because they're losing basketball, so they have some live sports money to throw around, and they want to stay in the live sports game as everyone does. And then there's Fox, who gets Saturday night national games. But can you imagine though? Fox won't do it because of football.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it could go to FS1 like it often does on Saturday nights. But then they would be drawing away from their own football audience,
right? There's
counter-programming themselves. So I don't know. I think it might be Turner,
like some sort of expanded deal with them with TBS. Yeah,
Tuesday and Sunday.
I see it. The Turner tentacles reach far and wide.
You support David Zaslav's strategy?
I do generally. Look, there are some
How many movies do you think he has to write off to put together enough money to buy the ESPN Sunday night package away from MLB?
Probably a lot, because I hear movies don't make any money these days.
Never did.
Never did.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a nice little charity program we were running for the last half century or so.
Right, which is why David Zaslav works pro bono.
Right. They allow him to sit courtside at Knicks games because they're like, this is the guy who saved movies. We all love this guy.
Right. I loved when he did the stunt where he jumped from one plane to another. That was crazy.
Speaking of that, did you see that movie?
No, I didn't.
Have you ever seen a Mission Impossible movie?
I have seen all of them, I think, but I just have not had time in the last week.
Name them all then.
Mission Impossible 1, Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3.
You can't name the subtitles? Well, 1, 2, and 3 don't have subtitles. But
right. No.
Mission Impossible 4.
No, because I don't care about the packaging.
Ghost Protocol.
I don't judge a book by its
when they have
title.
To enable Ghost Protocol
right.
and fall off the map.
Yeah.
Because the IMF has been disavowed by the US government. That didn't stick with you. Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation. When a Splinter Cell terrorist unit of former undercover agents, espionage agents, breaks off and forms their own rogue nation. That didn't stick with you. Mission Impossible 6, Fallout. When the fallout from said rogue nation comes to pass. No. Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning. Part 1. Just kidding. Not part 1. Dead Reckoning. When they have to reckon with the events of the leaking of an artificial intelligence so powerful that it can take over the entire world and all the nuclear arsenals.
What's the dead that's being reckoned with?
Just, you're going to have to reckon with it. There was another reason why it was called Dead Reckoning, and I can't remember. And then Mission Impossible 8, The Final Reckoning.
Right. That one makes more sense, given that there was a reckoning prior to that.
Yeah. I think Dead Reckoning is a nautical term. And it has something to do with the fact that Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning starts with a missile that they launch, and then it accidentally turns around and they shoot themselves, a Russian submarine. You recall this?
Instead, I do, actually. Instead of doing the pod, can you just explain the plots of Mission Impossibles 1 through 7 for me?
I mean, yeah, this would probably be a more successful podcast if that was the podcast.
That was just it, yeah.
Here we go, Dead Reckoning. I was right. Dead Reckoning, the process of calculating one's position, especially at sea, by estimating the direction and distance traveled, rather than by using landmarks. Dead Reckoning.
That makes more sense now that you've explained it to me. Now that you've explained the concept to me, I do understand it.
I mean, you're not as dumb as you look.
Thanks. Many people are saying, what? I assume that running through the titles of the Mission Impossible franchise was not the second thing that Rob Manfred spoke of this week, although I could be wrong.
The Tom Cruise press tour has expanded to the Rob Manfred universe. No, sorry. I got distracted. You know how I get when Mission Impossible gets brought up.
No. I want to stop you right there.
Accountability.
Don't apologize.
Accountability.
I don't want you to apologize, okay? No apologies here.
The second thing is that Manfred said that they will propose an automated ball and strike challenge system for 2026.
All right. I mean, I think we kind of thought that was going to happen, right?
Yeah, but
I guess what's weird to me is that they haven't.
Why use the word propose?
Right.
Don't they have the ability to just put it into play?
You run the league
to themselves. It never mattered what anyone else said before with all your rule changes. Exactly. I think to me, the news there is that we will have it next year.
Yeah, exactly. Which, like, again, they've like alluded to sort of time and time again. Yeah, it's not going to be ready for 2025, etc. I assume they will propose it to the players.
Okay. And get their feedback, which has always been so important to them.
Right, exactly. No, I imagine it's more of a rubber stamp sort of thing. You know this was coming. You understand the mechanisms of this.
When do you think the final reckoning on automated balls and strikes will happen?
Now that's a good question.
Yeah.
Hopefully not at the same time as the final reckoning around MLB's media rights, because that's going to be a busy Tuesday.
I feel like we're more in the dead reckoning zone on that one. Honestly, actually, no. You know what? We're in the fallout zone on that. We had a sort of rogue nation era where all of these different regional sports networks went off and got bought by casinos. That was the
Yeah.
Rogue Nation era.
Yeah.
And then we had a little fallout action where all of those places went bankrupt.
Right, went bankrupt. Mhm.
And I think we're still in the fallout zone.
The reckoning's coming, though. I mean, we'll know, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
some say we're doing the dead reckoning right now. We're estimating how far we've come, where we are.
There's a gray area there.
Okay. I might have to learn more about nautical terms.
I think you should just see Final Reckoning.
Okay.
We got a question about Final Reckoning later. I'll talk
We
more
did,
about
yeah.
it then. Okay, that's our newsy cold open about some shit that Rob Manfred said. I wish he would come say it on this podcast, but we might just have to keep on waiting. You know, there was also a story about the Federal Bureau of Investigation probing the finances of a business owned by the Major League Baseball Players Association and National Football League Players Association. I just got to say, I don't feel like I know very much about it from reading the story. I'd like to wait before discussing it in more depth.
You think not everything needs a reaction?
Yeah. I think we're in the Ghost Protocol era of talking about this story. You know, we got to lay low. We got to go undercover. We're being disavowed by our government. I got to do some fact finding.
Which you're very good at, right? You were very good at doing your own research.
Yeah.
I know you are going to leverage your contacts, the FBI, Dan Bongino or whatever his name is.
I thought it was Kash Patel.
Oh, Kash Patel, right. Well,
Dan
yeah, I guess-
Bongino is the director of national intelligence, bro.
Sorry. I'd prefer not to say more.
Oh, no, he's the deputy director of the FBI.
Okay,
You're right.
that's why. Yeah.
I'm really sorry to Dan and his many fans of his podcast.
Of which you were one. Ardent listener. We have a question coming up about what we're reading.
Patreon.com/Dan Bongino.
Should we get to our questions? Oh, we need to introduce the podcast first. Jesus.
This is what
We've
happens
said
when
Dan Bongino's name before our own.
Bro, this is the future you wrought when you started doing stuff like bringing up Olivia Giuliana on the pod.
I know.
Is that her government name? Is that her first and last name? Or do you think that's like a stage name? Do you think it's Juliana or Juliana?
It's probably Juliana.
All right, let's start the podcast where it's definitely going to get so much more serious and focused.
Yeah.
This is what happens when we record a podcast 5 days in advance at 9 p.m. after watching it and New York City mayoral debate.
Exactly. I've got too much Andrew Cuomo running through my veins.
Before,
Can you cut that out, actually?
nope, it's all staying in. We're going to answer your questions from Patreon, from X the Everything app, from Slack, and we also got a handful of voicemails. Before we do that, I am Bobby Wagner. He is Andrew Cuomo.
And you're listening to Tipping Pitches.
Do you want to give me a little Cuomo accent and give the people a little Cuomo?
No, I can't.
That's really my métier.
That is, I was just about to say, that feels like more your wheelhouse.
One of the things about watching Cuomo is that he's a reprehensible human being who I think should be nowhere near any office of power. But also when he talks, I'm just like, that just sounds like a guy that I know.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't be the mayor. You should be hosting a talk radio show.
Sure. On the Dan Bongino network.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Can I say thank you to the new patrons who will be really, really pleased to have their names read after the name Dan Bongino was said 10 times on this podcast?
I'm just going to keep saying it. I don't know. There's probably a not insignificant number of our listeners who don't even know who that is.
Maybe I'll go back and bleep it every time. You don't know.
I guess
maybe
we
I'll cut that
explain
whole
Deputy
thing out.
Director of the FBI. If you know, you know.
These roles change. They change. They move fast and break stuff over there.
All right, read the names.
This week's new patrons are Gregory, Taylor, Cole, Trader, Joe, Michael, Jula, Jacob, Allen, Abby, Lauren, Chase, and Mark. You know, there's a decent shot that some of you have already had your names read. I just try to get everyone's name. Sometimes there's overlap. My notebook has become very flooded with a lot of stuff. It's no longer just the Tipping Pitches notebook, so I'm losing track of stuff. I'm just trying to read everyone's name. Thanks to everyone who's a patron. If you haven't had your name read and you signed up, just know I thank you. That's my message to you.
Well said.
Alex, are you ready to answer some listener questions?
I am ready to answer some listener questions, and I hope that it's just even a fraction as chaotic as that debate was, and I'll be happy with it.
You have to answer every single one of these questions in 30 seconds. And if you invoke another person, we have to call them.
This is just power hour rules, basically.
Many are saying that the power hour is the predominant format of podcasting and that we really cracked something.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen many people saying that.
Many people are saying the real way to judge a mayoral candidate would be to have them do a power hour.
With us.
Yes.
On the podcast.
Yeah.
The only place where integrity reigns.
Mm-hmm. Should we make that our tagline?
I mean, yeah, that's actually really funny. Tipping Pitch is the only place where integrity reigns. Okay. I'm going to start with the questions from Patreon because that's where I work now. We give them top priority. The first question comes from Zach. I like that we're starting off with a real question here because we really need to rein it back. If we're too silly, I apologize. Sometimes it gets hard when we record after 9 p.m. Zach asks, what do you guys think about MLB expansion and what cities do you want ball clubs in?
This is a great question. And first, I want to thank the moderators for hosting us tonight and the audience as well.
You're doing an elaborate New York City mayoral debate bit. We are. I've contributed to this too, which was now 5 days ago. And also, I need to remind you, in a city that most of the people listening to this don't live.
What are my thoughts on expansion? Good. Bring Major League Baseball to more cities. I don't know. I think it's probably about time at this point. And you talk about growing the game, especially at a time when you're cutting minor league teams. I know that was a couple years ago, but like there actually has to
cutting minor league teams.
I know, breaking news.
Someone needs to do something.
Someone
about
should
this.
unionize them. Frankly,
now there's an idea I never thought of.
I think you want to see actual meaningful. I say investment, like they're investing in cities. The city's probably going to be investing in the teams that move there. But you want to actually see some sense of trying to expand the reach of the game. There are whole swaths of this country.
Grow the game, you think?
I think grow the game. Yeah.
Just like your favorite podcast wants you to do. The Section 10 podcast, Grow the Game.
Oh, I was going to say that didn't come out on Dan's podcast. I think there's already momentum for a Nashville team. I think that's cool. I think that's a good idea. There are a whole bunch of states in kind of like the western side of the Midwest, if that makes sense.
Right.
With nothing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Slap a team down in there,
By nothing going on there, you mean the people are not as important as the people on the coast?
Yes. No, I mean land doesn't vote, Bobby. No, I'm kidding. But when I say nothing going on there, I mean like quite literally, I don't know what major league team you would align yourself with. I'm sure folks who live there have an answer. And if you live in one of these states that doesn't have a baseball team, I actually would love to know how you selected it. Is it regional? Is it something else? Well, you and I have talked about this before. We've been asked questions about it.
No, they all listened to you choose the Phillies, and now there are Phillies fans as far as the eye can see.
Exactly. Yep.
The sun never sets on the Philadelphia Phillies empire.
So yeah, I think that's my answer. I don't know. North Carolina is another option as well. Or throw a team back in Montreal.
This guy goes to Montreal once, and now he thinks they should get their baseball team back.
I don't know. What do you think?
I support it hypothetically more than I support it in real life.
Okay.
When I think about the rollout process and when I think about the different things that Major League Baseball would demand and the different things that they would be looking for when expanding, I don't know that we're necessarily in a place with the league business-wise that they would be able to align their motivations with what would be anywhere close to in the interest set of a fan base, of a hypothetical future fan base. Like if you just judge it based on what's happened with the A's and what continues to happen with the Rays, it becomes hard to believe that they have any sort of sustainability or genuine baseball ethos at heart when considering where they would put a new team. It just like what probably would happen would be what you're describing, which is the best ownership group is in Nashville, like the best future ownership group, the most legwork that has been done on a future ownership group is in Nashville. We'll just give it to Nashville. Do I think that's best for Major League Baseball? I don't know. I'd hear more compelling cases from other places. I mean, a lot of the cities that you hear about that we have talked about since we started doing this podcast are like Portland, Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those I kind of
right, like Austin. I mean, Montreal has come up as well.
Let's put one in Albuquerque, dude. Little ABQ,
Mm-hmm.
Major League Baseball team.
Yeah, right there with the Isotopes.
Carolina would be good. I mean, Carolina has a long, rich baseball tradition. But I find myself thinking like a lot of these places like Nashville, Carolina, Southeast, like these areas, really what I'm yearning for is for them to just like get more minor league baseball back and what has been taken away from them,
Yes.
you know? And
yeah.
So what are we accomplishing by putting a Major League Baseball team there? Just like enriching another ownership group? I guess so. What I will say about like, is the league ripe for expansion? I think no, honestly. I don't think there are enough good players. Like we hear this argument, we hear this line of thought a lot in the NBA where it's like the league is more talented and deeper and more skilled than it has been in a while. And we have built up the talent pool to the point where like it could sustain expansion because there are guys who like don't even play who are good. I don't see that to be the case right now when I watch baseball league wide. Some of that is because many teams now have cut corners for so long that a lot of the best players are concentrated on 5 to 10 teams. But I don't think that it helps solve the fan apathy problem to then spread MLB players, the player pool, thinner to 2 more teams, particularly when it comes to pitching and starting pitching. Like you're just going to get a lot more piggybacking situations. You're just going to get a lot more bullpen games unless we have some sort of realignment of pitching development to be built more towards sustainability. I think those two things would have to work in tandem for it to work on a baseball level. Those are my thoughts.
I mean, I think that's a great perspective. And it does sort of beg the question, right? Like when those ownership groups come in, like how are those teams going to be run? Right? What is that like? What is the actual product that's being added to the field? Is it 2 more ownership groups who are like, we want to compete, we want to spend, we want to win? Or are you adding 2 more Colorado Rockies to the league? And you know, and diluting.
You mean the Colorado Rockies on a 3-game win streak against the Miami Marlins?
Yeah, exactly.
Hottest team in baseball, the Colorado Rockies.
That's right.
Who knows? By the time this podcast posts, maybe it'd be like a 7-game win streak.
Hang the banner.
Who knows? Who knows?
You know where they should put an expansion team? Oakland, California.
I got an idea. Expand on to Sacramento and bring that team back. All right, next question comes from Shreyas. Thanks, Zach. That was a good question. We always like to talk about expansion. It gets asked a lot, but my feelings on it evolve. The next question comes from Shreyas. Do you guys have any favorite publications, Substacks, writers that you guys like to follow? It can be hard to curate good written content out there these days. Good question. What do you think?
Like baseball specific?
Shreyas doesn't specify, but probably a little bit of both, I would say, would be helpful for Shreyas.
I mean,
I hope this person likes baseball based on the fact that they listen to this podcast.
I mean, it won't surprise you to say that. It won't surprise you to hear that I do think like Baseball Prospectus does a really good job of covering a really wide range of issues. Mm-hmm. And they have a writer or two there for sort of any issue around baseball that you're interested in, right? Whether it's the financial and business dealings of the game.
Soybean futures, exactly.
You know, fantasy baseball, like prospect coverage, like whatever. I think they do like a really good, just good holistic job. Mark Normandin is another one who sometimes writes for Baseball Prospectus, but also has his own blog as well. kindred spirit, for sure. We've had him on before. Good dude. Thinks about things in the way that we think about them, I tend to think.
If something happens in the baseball world on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday and we just put a podcast out, but you really want to see someone talking about it by like Thursday or Friday, I would subscribe to Mark Norman's newsletter where he will write about the exact same things that we usually talk about.
Yep, 100%. Sometimes we'll get done with a pod and I'll just be like scrolling or reading or whatever. And I'm like, oh, let me see what Mark Norman has to say about this. And I'm like,
oh, that's the thing we just talked about.
That's fair. Yeah.
Not only that, but it's like a very similar take to what we just had.
Right. Yeah. Usually better articulated. Hey man, if you're interested in New York City news, Hellgate is really good.
Yeah.
For non-baseball stuff. I really
shout
like
out Hellgate. Been talking about them a lot in my worker co-op class.
Shout out Hellgate. 404 Media is another one. Again, employee owned, more tech coverage, but doing some really interesting writing and work talking about our new algorithmic overlords. Yeah, I don't know. Those are the ones that come to mind initially. Heat Map as well for good coverage around the energy transition, but that one I kind of have to read for work. So
I'll plug Hannah Kaiser's Substack, which we had Hannah on earlier this year and talked about the bandwagon, which is Hannah's collaboration with Zach Kreiser, her former coworker, writer, editor at Yahoo. Like I said, that is called the bandwagon. I read Fangraphs pretty regularly. I have a lot of friends who do really great work over there. I think Michael Bauman is probably, I hope he's not listening to this because I hate complimenting him, but I think he is probably the combination of like smart, the most perfectly blended to my taste between the ideas of like smart and zany. Like he writes about weird stuff and is very funny, but also I do think he truly has what media is really lacking in this moment, like a critical mind. You know, like he sees a problem and assesses it really well. And so, you know, obviously Fangraphs doesn't need us to plug it. It's like it invented us in many ways. Like reading Fangraphs and listening to Effectively Wild in college is a super significant,
following all of their Twitter followers.
Super significant part of our history and makeup as baseball fans and thinkers. And then outside of the baseball world, you know, our friends PUP, they do a newsletter about like the music industry and their creative process that I find really rewarding. The other newsletter that I read really religiously is a newsletter about fitness called She's a Beast. It's written by Casey Johnston, who's like a former fitness and nutrition like blogger, reporter, writer, and it's awesome. It is about fitness, and it will take you into like the nitty gritty of particularly like weightlifting. Casey has this like whole program about getting off the couch and getting into strength training. But it is also kind of about like life and philosophy and lifestyle things. And I find it tremendously rewarding and an incredible perspective shift from what like the entire rest of the world of media coverage around these kinds of things are. So those are the things that I read regularly. I don't know if those will be appealing to you, Shreyas. I hope there's at least one or two things in there that you can get into.
Yeah, we gave a wide range. Some baseball, some non-baseball.
Next question comes from Jula, new patron. Bobby, we need your review of Final Reckoning, please. And how many more times do you plan to see it in theaters? Well, first of all, I'd like to say I've seen it 3 times in theaters.
Sicko. Sick man.
It's free.
What? Seeing a movie?
I'm part of A-List.
Well,
I'm already paying for it. It's free.
Oh, okay. All right. Girl math.
Talk about a subscription that pays for itself, bro. It pays for itself in one ticket.
Yeah.
Especially in New York City, especially for IMAX. I don't plan to
Come
see
on,
it
bro.
the
Get a
fourth time.
job. Get a job.
Get a job? I just did. Took a really long time, but I just did.
That's right. Snaps for Bob.
I saw it 3 times. I liked it better each time I saw it. My review of it is that it is almost like shockingly incompetent from like a plot narrative perspective at times, especially in the first act. Doesn't matter when the stunts are cooking though. And one thing that I do really like about it is that it's not inconsistent in the way that it moves through. It's just like the first hour is kind of bad, but then at the second half is like it gets better as it goes on. So I can forgive a movie like that which doesn't shank me in the last act. That's my review. I'm trying not to spoil as much as possible. My other review is that Tom Cruise is a deeply unwell man, like deeply unwell, and I fear that he will die on screen, and we will all have to, no pun intended, reckon with it.
Would you call that a dead reckoning?
I hope it's more of a near dead reckoning. You haven't seen this movie though yet, right?
No, I haven't.
My other review though is that the villain is bad.
Reviews.
The villain is bad.
Well, villains usually are.
Nah, I love an anti-hero, you know? I come to the movie for the Joker. I turn on Breaking Bad for Walter White.
What is it when you say bad? Just like not fleshed out?
Not interesting.
Okay.
Played by Isai Morales. The villain actually is like artificial intelligence. And so the human manifestation of the villain in this movie is played by Isai Morales, who is ostensibly on the side of the AI and then like wants to control the AI. I'm just kind of like, he's just nothing. He's not an interesting guy. I much prefer Solomon Lane, who is the villain in Rogue Nation and Fallout. He's an anarchist who wants to control the whole world, which is like not what anarchy is, but it's okay.
Right. Kind of the opposite of what anarchy is, but it's fine. Interesting. So you would say Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning holds somewhat of a mirror up to society.
That's deep. And that's what art is for.
Right.
That's why David Zaslav funds it. Not to make money, to hold a mirror up to society.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks for asking, Jula. Next question. Brian at the 11th hour asks us a question on Patreon just as we sat down to record. What owner is the most likely to be an abundance guy? I think there is a very easy answer to this.
Let's hear it.
No, I want to hear what you say first. I want to see if we thought the same thing.
My initial thought was Atanasio.
Oh, okay. Mine was Rubenstein.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
He's just like neolib dem donor.
But like, is he too
progressive for the abundance?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe a lot of people are. Is he like too entrenched in the establishment to be an abundance guy? You know what I mean?
You need to explain to me how the abundance movement is not establishment-y.
Well.
Now that I don't work at the Ringer anymore, I can actually talk about the abundance.
Well, because you just got back from Abundance Coachella that's going on today, right? With Matt Iglesias, Richie Torres, etc.
Yes, Matt Iglesias,
Alyssa
number one
Slotkin.
Ringer listener.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's like new establishment and old establishment, right? Like, I'm not trying to bring age into this, but like, it seems like a lot of the older guys are like, we should do this with a sense of decorum. And a lot of the younger guys are like, we should just fucking do it. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if we built 1 million homes?
Yeah, when you say do it, the it in this equation is just build, baby.
Well,
build, right?
Now you're asking me to interrogate what the abundance platform actually is, and that I can't tell you.
Nobody can.
Right.
Nobody. That's what I'm saying, though. So, but what owner, to Brian's question, I don't want to get too far away from Brian's question and just start talking about abundance, even though I think probably that would end up in some funny stuff. What owner is most likely to just like, I'm broadly for good things. I'm broadly for housing.
Yeah.
How about the guy who hosts a fucking show on MSNBC or whatever the fuck?
Right,
Sorry,
yeah.
Where does he host it?
Bloomberg, yeah.
Bloomberg, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Bloomberg,
That's
even
a guy
better.
who doesn't watch Bloomberg TV.
I think that we forgot to talk about the fact that you tried to get me to put on the David Rubenstein show at our hotel in Boston instead of the Mets game.
That is true. I did. It was on live television.
I mean, it's Bloomberg TV. It's not all just YouTube.
Or I feel like there are more GMs that are abundance guys than owners. Like, I think
like
that
the
is
wonk approach to solving a problem.
Like, I think that is the core demographic right there. I honestly don't think there are many owners who are abundance guys.
I'll tell you who's not an abundance guy. Mike Elias. That guy's MAGA.
Is he actually?
Yes.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's MAGA.
What's the context? Like how did we find this out?
Don't ask me how I know these things.
Interesting.
I get tips.
Right. You got your ear to the ground.
I do.
You got some folks out there.
You're doing a bit, but I actually do.
I know.
People tell me things. I'm like the Shams for internet poisoned observations about political leanings in Major League Baseball.
God never gives you a cross you can't bear. So go forth, Bobby. Have fun with that.
Are there any others? Maybe Middleton? Nah. He's old money.
See, again, I think a lot of these guys are.
Who owns the housing in the abundance guy equation? In the abundance movement equation? Who's building it and who owns it? Is it private housing?
Well,
Is it
it's not
public?
labor unions. It's building it. That's for sure.
I heard
That's the one thing that I know.
I heard as much. Who is it? Who owns it? Who's building it?
Landlords.
Landlords don't build.
Well, Bobby, I don't know if you hear it, but no one's building these days. That's why we got to cut the red tape. I don't know. Private equity funds. Probably one of the other owners.
Sounds like Rubenstein.
Well,
I feel like we landed on the right guy then.
Yeah.
Listen, I know Rubenstein owns at least one apartment building.
I know. That's right.
All right. Do you want to do some voicemails now, or do you want to go
Yeah.
on to some Slack questions?
I kind of want to run through the whole ownership list right now and see where they'd fall in abundance, but I guess we can stick to the premise.
Don't be giving away good full podcast episode ideas.
Mark
Okay.
Walter, is he an abundance guy?
Wait, who?
Mark Walter of the Dodgers?
No.
No, you don't think so. What about Uncle Stevie?
Definitely not.
Deafening silence from him on the New York City mayoral race.
Oh, I thought you were going to say deafening silence on abundance.
Well, that too. Hey, Steve, got one thing to say to you. 785-422-5881. Call in, let us know your thoughts. Should we get to some real voicemails while we're at it?
Yeah, no, I think we should.
Great.
Hey guys, it's Becca. As I know you guys are coffee connoisseurs, I would like for you to do a little matching game of which teams are which coffee orders. I'm going to say maybe do this for the year 2025. Who's a red eye? Who's a cold brew? Who's a nice latte? I figured this is up your alley. Thanks.
Becca is really obsessed with making us compare whole teams to things.
Can I just say, for clarification, I'm going to say let's do this, for 2024, not 2025, or the other way? Is the implication there that our answers might change year to year?
I mean, shouldn't they? Doesn't the personality of each team change every year? Also, she said she wants us to do it for 2025, which I think is correct. We've had a large enough sample size to compare the teams to coffee orders now.
Hey, the stats are stabilizing. Right, I don't know. When I was thinking about this question, I was thinking of it on a more like
an organizational identity level.
Well, actually, that's not true. I guess I went in a couple different directions, but
okay, let's hear the directions.
Well, I only have a handful of teams here.
Oh, this guy's only got a handful. He's got a couple different directions over there. You're like the abundance guys. You'll do it any way you need to.
We're just going to keep making jokes about it without understanding what it is. That's the goal here.
How would that make it different from anything else we make jokes about on this podcast?
The Yankees are black coffee.
Yep.
Because they won't shut the fuck up about it, about how it's the only way to drink coffee.
Have the audacity to say something like that when you're like that.
I know. That's why I can speak to that.
Unbelievable hypocrisy is being done here on the Tipping Pitches podcast. And I just I can't let it go unnamed. Too much goes unnamed in this society. Your hypocrisy
name names.
is the reason we've lost touch with reality and truth. For you to be like, they're the black coffee is the Yankees, but also you've made fun of me every time we've ever been together and I've got coffee that's not just black.
That's literally just false. I feel slandered right now. Moderator, can I have 30 seconds to respond to this claim? Hang on,
Really
I was invoked.
I'm glad we let the mayoral debate bit go for about 32 minutes. And
I'm going to bring it to the very end.
For everyone who's still listening from the beginning, thank you.
Point of order.
Yeah, Yankees they're black coffee. They're like, this is I can taste the beans.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I could tell you what country this is
the
from.
purest way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to put shit in your coffee to make it taste good?
Yeah. Wait, before we continue on, I just want to go back to the abundance guys. No, I'm just kidding. Before we continue on, do you consider yourself a coffee connoisseur?
No. Because I get the same thing every time. I mean, I consider myself a coffee advocate. I flyer on streets. I say, hey, hello, make sure don't rank Cuomo, but do buy a black coffee. No, I think advocate is probably too strong a word. I mean, I did work in a cafe for a year, little local cafe here in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I know my way around a coffee bar,
right?
Dabble a little bit in coffee art, but like,
it's crazy that you won't tell people that you founded Blank Street and then sold it to private equity.
I saw a gap in the market. Sorry, you didn't come up with the idea first.
Do you get it? Because it's called Blank Street because it could be on any street, dude. Do you get that?
Is that why it's called that?
It's Blank Street coffee.
Is that actually?
That means it could be on any street. It's just blank.
That's really stupid.
You fill it in with the street that you want it to be on.
That's really
Blank
dumb.
Street. I don't know if that's why it's called that.
What, are you a connoisseur?
No, I don't think I am. I think I'm a. You know how when the word connoisseur. Okay, let's dig into it a little bit.
Right. This is
From
welcome
the
to the
French.
Tipping Pitches linguistics
hour. I think connoisseur implies the same thing as like foodie. I don't think I'm a foodie where I'm not like in the Michelin star guide, like I must go here to this place. I must have this fine dining experience, though I will dabble in that from time to time. I feel like what I like is just like good, solid, normal food.
Right.
I feel the same way about coffee. I like a good, solid, normal coffee. I'll have a fancy coffee from time to time, but I make my own coffee here every day, and I do not do all that crazy shit that like TikTokers do. I don't spray it with water. I don't weigh the grounds. I don't do all of that stuff. I can appreciate someone in a place who does that, but I'm pretty like, I'm not crazy about it. So, and I can't like tell the difference between beans. I can tell the difference between like a dark roast and a light roast.
Yeah.
But that's just because a light roast hurts me sometimes.
Right, exactly. It's because light roasts are kind of gross.
I agree. Good take.
That's my take.
Great take.
We've not answered Becca's question very well. If this was a debate, the moderators will be up in arms.
Okay, Yanks black coffee. I do think the Phillies are a red eye. I think they are the most beaned up team, as it has been said
100%
by their since suspended reliever, Jose Alvarado.
I think the Orioles are like the Starbucks refresher, right? Because their parents won't let them drink coffee yet.
Right. They're like Gen Z.
Right.
Sorry, I don't mean to insult our many Gen Z listeners.
No, and that's not even shade. They just literally are Gen Z.
The Rockies are K-Cup.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The A's are, I don't know, somehow trying to use the grounds that they used to make yesterday's coffee to like make another batch.
That's good.
See how it works out for them.
The Marlins are Cafecito, Cuban coffee.
Mm-hmm.
They literally serve it at the stadium. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Angels are decaf because I watch them and I feel nothing. I'm like, this is baseball. And like, if I were like pressed on it, I'd be like, I am watching baseball. But when I'm having it, I'm like, it's not having the same effect.
I don't feel anything. Yeah. The Rays, I think, are some sort of pre-batched coffee, like a Trader Joe's cold brew. You know?
Yeah. Speaking of cold brew, I do think that the Mets are some strain of cold brew. Like, they make me feel crazy.
Right.
I need them, but if I have too much of them, they make me feel crazy.
Cold brew with a shot. That's my morning order.
That's just an iced red eye. Can I tell you? I'm sure I've told this story at some point, but I used to drink 2 iced red eyes every day from Madman Espresso, the coffee that invented this podcast. And on the day that I wrote my 30-page senior thesis, I had 4 and forgot to eat dinner and almost died. That's how I feel when watching the Mets sometimes. Although not this year, they've mellowed it out.
Mm-hmm. This year's more of like a flat white vibe. Would you say?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You want to know
I
what's
could
good?
get into a little
It's
flat white.
Flat white.
The Dodgers are like a mocha because it's just like indulgent. You don't need that many good players,
Right?
but it's nice if you have it. 3 MVPs back to back. I mean, come on. What does this make the Mariners though? Because they're from like the coffee capital of the United States.
I know. Are they like a single origin pour over?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Something like that.
Sure. They don't
Fair
play
trade.
very single origin pour over baseball. Which is not, I mean, they're good. They're a good team this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can live with that. Maybe a little ristretto.
The Braves are a frappuccino. Because that's not coffee. That's not baseball.
This is good. I feel like we did pretty good.
I think we availed ourselves well here. Even though we are not self-described coffee aficionados, I think we might get there. Sorry, connoisseurs.
Next question. Next voicemail.
Hey guys, Tom here, long time listener, first time caller. I am walking over to jury duty right now at 7:20 in the morning in the rain. And I have some different thoughts. And one thing I wanted to ask you guys is, if you had to assemble a team of 5 hitmen from the current MLB players, obviously not with any of the bomber players, but, choose 5 players from the league, who are your dream team hitmen? Thanks so much. Bye now.
Now, if you couldn't make out that question because our dear caller was walking in the rain
To jury duty. That's just want to say, massive commitment from our listenership.
No, like big shout, but also you probably shouldn't be calling and asking about hitmen on the way to jury duty. The question was, if you had to build a team of 5 hitmen from current Major League Baseball players, who would you choose? Number one off the bat, any team of anything that needs to accomplish any task, athletic or otherwise, you should have Ohtani on your team. Mm-hmm. I think the guy can do anything.
Yes, correct.
He doesn't need to be the one to pull trig if he doesn't want to, but he should be on the team.
100%.
I don't think there's anything on earth that the man can't do.
I agree.
That's one.
My mind went to Jose Ramirez.
Great.
Because I feel like that man is just a literal killer. I don't mean literal killer, but like every time he steps out onto the ball field, I'm like, he could do anything.
Okay, great. Reed Garrett.
Okay, good.
He seems like he might be really good with like gadgets. I don't know why he just
he's
gives
like
that
the
energy.
The tech guy.
Yeah. But like with an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If like the suspect gets away and Reed has one shot at him, he'll take it. That's 3.
I see, like, initially, I thought of Max Scherzer. I almost feel like he's maybe too much of a wild card to be a hitman. Like, I think he's the kind of guy who you would actually maybe suspect would turn the gun back around on the on whoever hired him. He's the one who has an arc at the end by the end of the movie, where it turns out that he realized he's the one being played this whole time.
Are you saying he might join what you might call a rogue nation?
Uh-huh.
And he might inspire some fallout from your mission, which was feeling impossible. Yeah, Scherzer would be a bad choice.
I really hope the listeners New York City mayoral politics. And the title is not the substance of the Mission Impossible franchise.
Don't be ridiculous. I described why
You
they were
did.
titled that.
You did.
Why the plot led to that title.
So we're still at 3. Oh, you know who I do on my team is Nick Castellanos.
Yeah, I agree.
I want someone who's got not a single thought rattling around up there.
No, I actually think Castellanos is not one of the guys who has no thoughts. I think he has so many thoughts
Okay.
that it appears he has no thoughts.
Right.
It's like yeah, I think all the thoughts in his head actually cancel each other out.
Right. Like he's got like all the numbers. He's looking down the scope. He's calculating the wind speed and the distance, and maybe he's doing a bit of dead reckoning himself, frankly. And then it all just fades away until all he sees is the target.
I think if I had to choose one Philly, it would be Harper. Those eyes,
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing behind those. But probably we should go with Tommy Pham. Although he's too much of a wild card also.
Right. Again, see, a bit of a loose cannon.
Yeah. If I was getting in like a barroom brawl, I might bring along Tommy Pham. But if I had like a job to do.
Do we need a closer on here?
We need a catcher. Someone to orchestrate. The catchers are the thinkers. Can we pick a manager?
Right. Bruce Bochy.
No, he would slow us down. His hip. He's not moving too well.
But it doesn't matter. He's the thinker, right? He's the planner.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Write in. Tell us who you think should be our 5th team member. So far, we have Nick Castellanos, Reed Garrett,
Jose Ramirez, Shohei Ohtani.
That's a good team, honestly.
I think it's a really good team. I'd trust him with my life.
To be clear, to take your life.
To take my life, yes.
All right, let's move on to our questions from the Slack. First question comes from Jen, our good friend Jen Mac Ramos. Jen Mac Ramos asks us, what are your feelings on jorts?
Look, not for me.
Oh.
I personally don't think I can rock them. But I think that has more to do with me.
Why is that?
Than it has to do with jorts. I don't think I have the...
You don't have the all-American tendencies?
I really don't. I have the coastal elitist. Like if I can wear it over my Patagonia, that's fine, but
you're just out here wearing salmon shorts and a polo.
Yeah. I don't know. I have never thought that I have been able to get away with that. There's some people who can.
Are you looking at one of them?
I feel like
I've
seen you in a pair of jorts or two.
I wear jorts all the time. All the time. Always have. Always will. I'm not afraid of a little jorts action. I've worn jorts, but like elastic waistband jorts, not like I snipped the jeans right above the knee style jorts. That's not my aesthetic really, though I respect people who can pull that off, much like you. I've had people tell me I typically don't like jorts, but it looks good on you. And I don't know if that's a backhanded compliment or not, but it was said by a person who's usually very earnest. Mm-hmm. So I'll take it to heart.
I typically do like jorts, but I just don't like them on you specifically.
I'm pro jorts. I'm sorry if that gets me canceled. Next question comes from McKenna. Fuck, marry, kill. We got Rob Manfred. We got Scott Boras. And we've got Alex Rodriguez. I gotta feel like this one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, I have my order.
Marry Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, obviously. We would like to wake up to him every morning.
Kill Scott Boras.
Interesting.
I just don't think I don't see him that way.
See, I think he would whisper you sweet nothings all night long. That's his whole thing.
Potentially the possibility. Well, I don't want to be talked to in metaphor. Like in verse. Chapter and verse. I think one thing about if you choose Rob Manfred to,
Right.
I don't know why I'm getting so puritanical all of a sudden. Is that maybe, loose lips sink ships. He might confess some things afterwards to you when he's feeling open and vulnerable. You get some real truth out of him.
I'm never going to be able to get the thought out of my head of you making Rob Manfred feel open and vulnerable. You with your jorts. Hey, Rob,
Great
these are
question,
elastic
McKenna.
waistband. They come off easy.
Great question. Next question comes from Hiroshima Carl 3.5. There's a whole like Hiroshima Carl bit happening in the Slack that I think I missed. I missed out on, and I don't know like where these came from. But I'm just gonna power through. The question is, which MLB player do you think has the best handwriting? Baseball players famously have, a lot of them have very bad handwriting. They didn't need to write well. They needed to throw a ball, or they needed to hit a ball. And then they got into adulthood and they realized they can't write very well. But which player do you think can?
Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, I think so too.
Especially after, learning how much he journals.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't write that much and still be doing like chicken scratch or whatever. Like you have to have developed some sort of legible system for yourself. He also just feels like he pays such a close attention to detail and how he carries himself. I would have to assume that extends to the words that he puts from pen to paper. That's my personal vote.
Yeah, I'm scrolling here.
Just scrolling through the list of baseball players. What
Honestly,
I usually do,
yes.
I usually go to the Fangraphs hitting leaderboards if I need a jogger on refresher on who plays baseball.
I think Aaron Judge has terrible handwriting.
Correct.
I think Freddie Freeman has terrible handwriting.
Uh-huh.
You know who might have good handwriting? Bregman. I can see it.
Yeah.
I think Pete Alonso's handwriting is not good.
I was just about to say, I agree with that.
I could see Goldschmidt having nice handwriting. Sneaky, but like all caps style, of course.
Right, naturally. What about Mookie?
I think good handwriting.
Good handwriting.
He's got great wrist control. We know this from his bowling career. Bellinger might have the worst handwriting in Major League Baseball. This is a ridiculous conversation. I think Gleyber Torres could have good handwriting. He seems like a nicely primped man,
That's true. He's very well put together. He's a very nice looking man.
You didn't know where I was going with that, and then I brought it home. So that means it's time to end the question.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Christina. Where were you when you found out that Taylor owning her own Masters news? And what have you spun up since? We have not talked about this on or off pod. Taylor Swift.
Taylor what? What happened?
A through line of this podcast, a main character of this podcast, has purchased back her own Masters from some private equity firm that she was very, very complimentary of. For $360 million US. Alex, you say what?
Doesn't change. I never stopped listening to the originals.
I was going to say, now I can just stop feeling bad about listening to the originals.
The better versions of the songs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good for her, man. Solid rug pull. Everyone deserves at least one good rug pull, and she's had a solid 4 or 5. So, hat tip.
I was in Pennsylvania, the home state of Taylor Swift. I thought, cool. I also thought, doesn't that make this whole project a gigantic waste of time? Although at the same time,
you and many Swifties.
Don't you think that the project was even the reason that the Masters were even for sale? Because it devalued them,
right? Split
the revenue of them, and that made them affordable enough for her to buy them back. Cool. I think every artist should automatically own all the Masters for all their records. I don't think it should be this whole thing.
Yeah, good for her. I think she deserves to own her Masters.
Agreed.
Like point blank. And, I think that what she did around this actually moved the needle probably for a lot of younger artists on the awareness of like what it means to actually retain the rights over your own art. So
how do you balance that idea personally with the fact that you think Scooter Braun is just an enterprising young businessman who is just trying to make a buck for him and his family?
Every time I think you might actually be able to be about to bring it back in.
Josh asks, why does Taylor Swift get a pass for being a billionaire? She doesn't.
No, she doesn't. But she also contribute something to society.
True. There are a handful of billionaires out there where it's like, I almost feel like it's not even your fault.
Right.
You know? Capitalism made you make $1 billion.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
being
it's
said-
absolutely like extracted wealth. Taylor Swift did not make $1 billion, but she also remains.
Well, she didn't make it, but she didn't earn it.
Yes, there you go. Yes, good distinction. It is in her bank account right now. That's for sure.
Well, no, not anymore. Now she's shelled out $360 million.
But like, how does that even work? You're not writing them a check for $360 million, right? Like,
Maybe you're not broke, boy.
she doesn't get.
Where
a pass.
do you
I don't
keep
know,
$360 million? I always. I'm not going to get into this. Actually,
the Federal Bitcoin Reserve. Speaking personally,
mine is actually mostly in So Rare,
Right.
MLB's chosen NFT
Uh-huh.
platform.
yeah, mine are in MLB fan tokens.
Oh, I spent most of it at the virtual ballpark.
It's all in apes.
My master's gone. I saw someone the other day with an ape profile photo on Twitter, like in earnest. And I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
He's like that one soldier who didn't know World War II ended. To actually answer your question, Josh, I do think that Alex put it pretty succinctly, is that she actually does something. You know, like George Lucas made Star Wars,
Mhm.
and now we have Star Wars. Do I think George Lucas should hold this much wealth while millions and millions of children starve just in this country alone? No, probably not. But we're not addressing those problems, and so
Right.
therefore, I think that I have less animosity for the guy that made Star Wars or the gal that wrote our song than I do for Elon Musk, who has never made anything at all in the world. That's the answer.
Speak on it.
Next question comes from Jonathan. What homage from a film scene do you want to see John DiMarcico do on an SNY broadcast? Can I quickly say, I'm glad that John DiMarcico is getting his due.
Getting
He
a
has
lot
been-
of due lately.
He has gone viral several times. He is now very popular. Him and the whole SNY broadcast are just very popular across the baseball internet, across the cinephile internet, both places that I dip my toes in from time to time. He's great. They do great work. That whole team is great. The camera people are great. DiMarcico is directing the broadcast and choosing what camera to go to, but the people who are actually pulling those shots rock. Shout out to those people. I like that what he does is he's choosing from a palette that he thinks is baseball focused. It's cinematic still, but he's doing a lot of the same stuff and not trying to do too much.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the good, the bad, the ugly. I saw him do a Rear Window homage this past week. You know, the shot that I want to see him try to pull off in a baseball context is, have you seen Memories of Murder?
No.
Which is like my favorite movie.
Okay.
You should check it out.
I'll watch it
sometime,
right now.
bro. You should check it out. Not sure if you've heard of the guy who directed it, Bong Joon-ho.
Mm-hmm.
There's this shot in the first scene of Memories of Murder where there are four detectives, three detectives and a coroner, I think, or like a medical examiner, and they're standing on top of a sewer where they have found a dead body, and it's like one shot with three faces sticking out and one face looking right into the camera. And I do think that the dugout might be prime for that sort of thing. This is a really hard thing to describe if you've not seen the movie, but it's I think one of the best shots and one of the most memorable shots. It is the shot that is on I think the cover of the Criterion Collection version of this film at the top of the article about. So if just Google it, just Google Memories of Murder, you'll know what shot I'm talking about.
I'll go cue it up right now.
It's three faces from the right of the screen in succession. Kind of like the meme of those guys at the Red Sox game where there's like 12 white guys just like in a
Excuse
row.
you. Wasn't that at Wrigley?
I don't remember.
All right.
Doesn't matter. Did you find the shot?
There doesn't seem to be. There's a lot of photos of guys, of groups of guys.
I'm sending it to you now.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't that have kind of dugout energy?
It does have dugout energy. Yeah. Especially like if the ump has just made like a bad call or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer.
I love it. Great answer.
Thanks for the question, Jonathan. Next question,
Whoa,
Alex.
Wow. Just not even gonna let me answer. Okay, that's fine. I guess I'll go fuck myself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess you're the only host of this podcast.
What would you like to see John DiMarcico do as an homage on the
I don't watch
SNY
movies.
broadcast?
I want the North by Northwest crop duster like chase scene on like a stolen base or something like that with like the shallow like depth of field or whatever. The moving camera. That's what I want. Or even better. Wait. If there's a runner on first, ground ball to the first baseman.
Okay.
Where the first baseman throws the ball to second. So the ball is coming over the runner's shoulder. As if the runner is being chased by the ball. Look, I'm leaving it to John to figure out how to make this happen. Because don't know.
That's going to be a tough one to pull off, but I think you can do it.
What about he typically doesn't do like action shots.
No, I mean, it's hard to. What about this shot that I just sent you from Close Encounters of the Third Kind from behind everyone
my God.
As they're looking out on the light to the spaceship?
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
This is great. Close Encounters of the Third Time. Greatest movie of all time.
Okay, next question. This comes from Hiroshima Carl IV. Now you see why I was saying that there is a bit the Hiroshima Carl thing. If you got to design the City Connect jersey, what part of the city would you highlight?
I mean, this may not surprise you, but probably a lot of like the built environment, a lot of the architecture, a lot of the infrastructure. Big infrastructure guy over here. It's infrastructure week, by the way.
You and Biden.
Yeah. You know what my answer is? It would probably, like subway lines, bridges, etc. It would probably resemble something close to the Mets City Connect jersey, except it would be good.
I'm not going to comment on that.
I know you
Mine would just
be why I put it out there.
Mine would just be the Verrazano Bridge, though. Just the Verrazano Bridge. Yeah. What about for an Oakland one, since they never got to do one?
I think that's good. I mean, I think it's easy to play off the idea of the oak tree, the branches, the roots. Famously, there is a soccer team out of Oakland called the Oakland Roots. I think I know what that's referring to. Luxury condos as well. plastered with graffiti that was painted on when the building was erected.
Yeah. Intentionally.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good. I think it would have to be the tree.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Dante, how many games in a week is too many games to go to? I don't think there is too many games.
I'm not sure we found the limit yet.
I mean, it's tough to go to the ballpark every single day. So, I probably wouldn't go more than 3 times in a week, but I would not begrudge anybody who did.
Right.
Especially if you're just buying a cheap seat and bringing your own food. It's too many games to go to 3 or more games if you're going to do the whole, I'm eating here, I'm buying 3 beers, I'm doing this. That's too much.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just too much money to give to, in Dante's case, Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah. Well, and I think that if I did not also have a job or other obligations, it'd be very easy for me to say, sure, I'll go to the Mets game today. Whatever, I can sleep in the next day. I don't think there's a number of too many. I think whatever your heart desires. I would probably max out around 4. I need a couple days to recover.
All right. Next question comes from Jack. Where did Alex go to high school? I'm trying to do East Bay area stereotyping. Let's go. I love getting into Alex lore.
Brutal.
I
went to St. Mary's College High School. That is in Berkeley and Albany, California. Yes, Berkeley and Albany, because the line between the two cities runs through our campus.
I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? You learn something new every day doing the Tipping Pitches podcast. You answered the question too fast. I was going to make a joke that you went to Exeter. Like you didn't actually go to high school in Oakland. Just a little boarding school in Massachusetts called Exeter.
No, I went to I just got my
You were there at the same time as Zucks.
I got my GED from the University of Austin or whatever the Free Press Barry Weiss one is.
You got your GED from a college.
From a college. Uh-huh.
What is the stereotype that Jack is going to make about you from that knowledge? I'd just like to say for the record, I'm really happy that you went to a Catholic high school.
You think it blessed me with a broader worldview?
Yeah, me and the rest of the Typic Pitches community are really happy.
I don't know. What is the
Typic
stereotype?
Pitches Catholic caucus, we're calling ourselves.
Yeah. I don't really know why that one got me.
Because you just love a caucus, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You love a caucus.
I do.
What are some of your favorite caucuses? The Iowa?
That's my least favorite caucus.
Okay, then name your favorite.
The
Liberal Caucus, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The Blue Dog Coalition. I'm just reading a Wikipedia page called Factions in the Democratic Party.
Okay. The Freedom Caucus. That's my favorite.
Oh, okay, great. You love freedom.
Yeah.
I feel like this Wikipedia page didn't really answer my question. Well, we know you're a huge Dixiecrats guy.
Jesus Christ. I mean, that's basically the Freedom Caucus. No, as soon as there's an abundance caucus, I will be the first in line. I'm just saying it.
All right, next question. Or do you want to answer about the stereotypes about your high school?
No, I don't know. That's what I leave it to you, the listeners, you know?
All right, next question. We just did an Alex question, so we'll do a Bobby question. Jonah asks, of course, have you received any sage advice from Bill Simmons in your time at the Ringer that you could pass on to us, or just a funny anecdote? I mean, I have plenty of funny anecdotes, not that I'm willing to talk about on this podcast. I will say the first piece of advice that I got from Bill Simmons, and a piece of advice that I relayed back to him in my goodbye email to him when I left the Ringer, which is on my first day, me and Craig Horlbeck, when we were introduced to him, the first thing he said to us was, "You just got to learn Pro Tools and you're going to be fine." And honestly, good advice.
He was right.
I edited a Pro Tools. I edited something in Pro Tools this morning on my very last day at the Ringer. So he was right. All I had to do was learn Pro Tools and I was fine 7 years later.
And keep from talking about Bill Belichick and his 26-year-old girlfriend or whatever.
No, didn't you see him and Pablo squashed that beef today?
I know, I heard.
Who should we start a beef with like that?
Because all the signals we've sent up have thus far gone unanswered.
Yeah, but it has to be someone that we would actually have to want to talk to. We would have to want to squash it with.
Who is someone I want to start beef with and then squash? I don't know. I feel like that defeats the purpose of beef.
John Lovett.
Dare I say that Bill and Pablo are both just gaming for clicks.
Clickbaiting?
We're the real journalists. Thank you very much.
Pablo, come on, Typic Pitches.
I mean, absolutely.
Okay. We're running thin on time here, so we're just gonna do like 3 more. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
David asks, which team is most in need of a mascot change? Awesome question, David.
Great question.
Because I think the supposition is right here. Not all these some of these mascots are coasting. Some of them are grifting off of reputation, and they're not actually bringing anything to the table. So, what do you think, Alex?
I think that Wally is just diet fanatic.
Wally is the Astros, right?
No, Red Sox.
Oh, okay.
Orbit
Right.
is the Astros.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
It's just like, whoa, that's crazy. You got a big fuzzy green guy as your mascot? Never seen that one before.
Are you aware of the fact that the Milwaukee Brewers have a mascot named Barrel Man, and it's just like a white thumb in a barrel? I'll bet you weren't aware of that.
I'm not sure that I was. That isn't. They have like a They have a real mascot too, right?
No, that's their mascot.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's an auxiliary mascot.
Yeah, what's his name? It's something the Brewer, Bernie
Now,
the Brewer,
let me ask you
or whatever.
a question, Alex. If you were writing a Wikipedia page, would you organize it alphabetically by the name of the mascot or the name of the team? Because I'll tell you what they did, and it's not the sensible thing. They organized it by the name of the mascot. Yeah, Bernie Brewer.
Oh, it is Bernie Brewer. Okay.
I'm not impressed by either of those. I'll tell you who I am impressed by. Billy the Marlin. I fucking love that guy.
I love Billy the Marlin.
I mean, Blooper needs to be fired on a rocket ship into the sun.
That is true.
Dinger
I don't think we
is
should
great.
swap it out. I think we should just banish the team.
DJ Kitty is apparently the Rays mascot.
No, it's not.
There's not even a photo of it on Wikipedia, so that's nothing good.
DJ Kitty?
Apparently, we also have an alternative Reds mascot named Gapper.
All right. What is this whole thing about alternative mascots? Stick by your guns.
I completely agree.
I also think you're not above a mascot, New York Yankees. I think mandatory mascot minimums.
But the Yankees,
and maximums, I guess.
What they decide they are too good for is baffling.
I mean,
you're too good to have a City Connect jersey, but you put Star Insurance patch on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're too good for a mascot. And yet you do a lot of the like dumb in-game entertainment stuff anyway. Like, why is that the line?
I agree. I mean, this is what I'm saying, right? It's like you should be forced to come up with a mascot no matter how embarrassing or goofy it is. You need to trot that person out there every day.
But so back to the Blooper thing. I don't know if the Braves are most in need of a mascot change because I am kind of afraid to see what they would come up with.
Yes, I agree.
So I gotta be honest. I think the Mr. Red
really
wants what Mr. Met has. Sorry.
I think
get your own. We won because we have Mrs. Met, who's beloved for good and bad reasons.
Right. Behind every strong male mascot. I personally like Mr. Red. I think he has a fun flair that is not of this time. And I respect it. You know, he's got the handlebar mustache and the like little like boxy hat. I think he's doing something different.
That's fine. I find Orbit underwhelming.
Raymond. That's the Rays mascot.
I don't like the Rangers mascot very much. His name is Rangers Captain, and he's a Palomino horse dressed in the team's uniform.
Like an actual horse?
No. It's a mascot costume.
Ooh, I really don't like that.
I like Slugger though. The Royals mascot. Slugger's good.
Slugger's good. Also, I just want to say, if you're the Rangers, lean into it. Your team is not named after the horses. Your team is named after the lawmen.
That's right.
I want a guy who's coming in and is like packing, you know?
You don't want to encourage that in Texas.
Frankly, that probably already exists. So,
all right. Next question comes from Chase. If you could remove Rob Manfred as MLB commissioner or take Warner Bros. Away from David Zaslav, which are you doing? Pretty easy answer here for me.
Yeah. I mean, given that Rob Manfred is probably the compromise commissioner, I'd much rather keep him in place.
Agreed. I think David Zaslav is more standard deviations worse among Hollywood CEOs than Manfred is amongst commissioners.
Yeah, he makes far more decisions that actively feel like they fly in the face of the entity that he runs.
Yes. I mean, against all odds.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, we only have time for one more question. This question comes from Boys in Blue. Which baseball player do you think could beat Tom Cruise in a foot race? Like many of them?
Many of them. Also,
most of them.
Right, yeah. Also,
Tom Cruise
like,
is like 5'4".
These probably a relatively easy way to find this out, right? Like, I am sure there are studies that have been done on how fast is Tom Cruise running.
But how could you ever know that? You can't actually know how far he's traveling because of the movie magic.
Interesting. Sounds like you need to do a little dead reckoning.
You didn't even know what that was when this podcast started. Don't come at me with that shit.
Look, I'm just saying, I'm trying to put into practice the knowledge that we've gained here.
I think almost every player could beat Tom Cruise in a foot race. Everybody except Mark Vientos, the slowest man to ever don the Major League Baseball uniform.
I mean, I think you're probably right about this. Like, I think
he's really good at looking like he's running fast.
Right, because he's moving his arms so much. I'm like, holy shit.
And I respect that. I think he's a great runner. Awesome form.
Oh, he's still doing the work.
He looks like an alien who learned how to run,
mm-hmm.
which is exactly what he is.
Which is frankly how he does most other things as well.
Yep. Eat popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, did you see the interview with him? I promise we're wrapping this podcast up. But did you see the interview with him where someone threw him a softball and was like, what does your ideal Father's Day look like? And his response?
He's like...
His response was like, I don't know, just making movies, hanging out.
Making movies is the funniest answer I think anyone's ever had.
Just
not beating the deadbeat dad allegations, that's for sure.
No.
Unfortunately.
Okay, we got a lot of other good questions, but I'm sorry, we just ran out of time here because we had to talk about abundance for 15 minutes. And New York City mayoral politics, which keen listeners will remember that is a long time thread of this pod.
I can't wait to look at the listenership graph of this and see the specific points where people dropped
Don't
off.
act like you're going to look at the listenership graph. Do you even know the password to get into that?
Into our Spotify?
Yeah.
I think so.
Do you?
It's a right?
It's not.
Fuck. Is it?
Nope. I changed it.
Wow.
You don't even know. You don't even know. Look at that.
Damn.
You could probably get like a security code sent to our email, which you would get in either way.
Exactly. No, I trust you with the keys.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I trust you to not rank Andrew Cuomo. If there's one thing that you've learned from this podcast, it's to not rank Andrew Cuomo.
Speak on it.
All right, Alex. Thanks for another banger episode of the Tipping Pitches podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening. If you'd like your question the next time we're doing a mailbag to be played up top with top priority, you can subscribe on patreon.com/tippingpitches, where when we do mailbag episodes, we make a post asking for questions, and I always put those up at the top. Thank you to everybody who is currently subscribed. The Patreon also gets you better perks than just being at the top of a mailbag list. It gets you extra episodes every other week where we do 3 up, 3 down. Talk about 3 things that bring us joy, 3 things that take our joy away. Our episode last week on the public feed was an unlocked version of 3 up, 3 down so that you can get a taste of what that is. I hope that if you appreciated that episode and you liked it, you want to check out a little bit more. There's a whole back catalog of those episodes, which are like still pretty good because, they're never really that topical, if I'm being honest. So there's a lot of stuff that you can go back and check out, including, other stuff as well. Bonus, extended versions of public feed episodes that we have done with great guests, movie watch-along commentary tracks for baseball movies. Those are in there. There's a whole collection of them. So go on and check it out if you feel like you're needing more tipping pitches in your life. Which after this episode, if you feel like you need more tipping pitches in your life, you probably already are a patron. Just being honest.
This was fun. I like doing mailbag episodes. And it's also, I think, a little bit reaffirming. Like seeing the questions that we get.
Oh, that
people
are listening and engaging.
Well, and just want us to talk about stupid shit. Like sometimes I'm like, why are we talking about this? And then I'm like, well, it's.
I have one final mailbag question for you.
Yeah.
Thought about making an abundance joke, but I'm just going to ask the question I was going to ask. Who's going to win the French Open, men's and women's?
Sinner and Sabalenka.
Boring.
Do you want a fun answer? What do you think?
I think Sabalenka definitely. Although Coco Gauff looking really good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Carlos is going to take it.
You think?
Although he does this, where like in one match he looks kind of like a mediocre version of himself, and then in his most recent match he was just absolutely obliterating my man Tommy Paul.
Yeah,
who was definitely playing through something, but still, I think that his highs right now are higher.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like he can turn it on.
Which I think he probably will for Sinner.
I agree. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Well, I guess we'll be back next week if you guys still want to have a podcast from us. Bye.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping pitches.
Tipping pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!